Hello everyone, you are on the channel Scary Story. Have you ever walked past a department store late at night and felt a pair of eyes on you? You look around, see nothing but the pale, plastic figures in the window display, and brush it off as your imagination. But what if it wasn't? What if one of those mannequins wasn't just plastic and paint? My story begins with a young woman named Clara. Clara was a design student, exceptionally talented, but struggling to make ends meet in the big city. She dreamed of having her own boutique one day, a place where her unique creations would be showcased not on cold, generic hangers, but on mannequins that felt alive, that told a story. To pay her rent, she took a night shift job as a security guard at the Grand Arcadia, a vintage, almost labyrinthine department store that had seen better days. The store was a relic of a bygone era, with ornate columns, sweeping marble floors, and an air of forgotten glamour. During the day it bustled with shoppers, but at night it transformed. The silence was thick, broken only by the hum of the old air conditioning and the echo of Clara's own footsteps. Her patrol route was long, covering 5 sprawling floors of fashion, furniture, and forgotten dreams. The 3rd floor was the ladies' apparel section, and it was Clara's least favorite. It was a forest of mannequins, dozens of them, frozen in poised, elegant poses. They were old, made of a heavy, porcelain-like material, with painted faces that were just a little too realistic. Their glass eyes seemed to follow her as she walked by. Clara always felt a chill on this floor, a sense of being watched that was stronger here than anywhere else in the store. There was one mannequin in particular that always unsettled her. It stood at the center of the main display, dressed in a beautiful but faded 1920s flapper dress. It was named Isabel, according to a small, tarnished plaque at its base. Unlike the others, Isabel's pose was less rigid, more natural. Her head was tilted slightly, a painted smile on her lips, and one hand was raised as if waving a gentle hello, or perhaps a sad goodbye. Her eyes, a deep shade of blue, seemed to hold a strange depth, a flicker of something that wasn't just reflected light. Clara would often talk to it, a nervous habit to fill the oppressive silence. "Good evening, Isabel," she'd say. "Keeping an eye on things for me?" Of course, there was never a reply. One night, about a month into the job, something strange happened. As Clara made her rounds on the 3rd floor, she noticed Isabel's hand. It was lower than she remembered. Before, it was raised in a distinct wave. Now it was resting by her side. Clara froze, her heart pounding. It had to be her imagination. Maybe one of the daytime staff had adjusted it. She tried to convince herself, but a knot of fear tightened in her stomach. She took a photo with her phone, just to be sure she wasn't losing her mind. The next night, she approached the 3rd floor with a sense of dread. She pulled out her phone and compared the previous night's photo to the scene in front of her. Isabel was exactly as she had left her, hand by her side. Clara let out a sigh of relief. It was all in her head. But then she looked at Isabel's head. The slight, curious tilt was gone. Now the mannequin was looking straight ahead, directly at the main aisle, directly at where Clara was standing. Her blood ran cold. This wasn't her imagination. She walked a wide circle around the display, her eyes locked on Isabel. Up close, she noticed something she hadn't seen before. A tiny, almost imperceptible crack ran from the corner of Isabel's painted eye down her cheek, like a single permanent tear. The strange occurrences escalated. One night, she heard a faint sound, like the rustle of silk coming from the 3rd floor. When she went to investigate, the flapper dress on Isabel was slightly askew, as if someone had just moved in it. Another time, she found a single, long strand of blonde hair on the floor near the display, even though Isabel's hair was painted brown. Clara was terrified, but also morbidly curious. Who was Isabel? She started digging into the history of the Grand Arcadia. In the city archives, she found old newspaper clippings about the store's grand opening in 1926, and then she found it. An article from 1928 with a faded photograph. It was about a young socialite, Isabelle Delacroix, a famous beauty and heiress who was the face of the Grand Arcadia. She was known for her love of fashion and her vibrant spirit. The photograph showed a woman with a striking resemblance to the mannequin. The same face, the same smile. The article ended with a chilling note. Isabelle Delacroix had vanished without a trace one evening after a private party held at the store. She was last seen on the 3rd floor admiring a new collection of evening gowns. She was never found. The police suspected foul play, but no body was ever discovered, and the case went cold. Suddenly, everything clicked into place. The strange occurrences, the feeling of being watched, the mannequin that seemed to move. Clara was convinced that the spirit of the real Isabelle was somehow tied to a porcelain likeness. That night, armed with this knowledge, Clara approached the mannequin with a different feeling. Not just fear, but a strange sense of empathy. "Isabelle?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "Is that you? What happened to you?" The store was silent. For a long moment, nothing happened. Clara was about to turn away, feeling foolish, when she heard it. A soft, sighing whisper that seemed to come from right beside her ear. "Help. Me." Clara spun around, but no one was there. She looked back at the mannequin, and her heart stopped. The tiny crack on Isabelle's cheek was wet. A real tear was slowly tracing the path of the painted one. The mannequin's glass eyes, once fixed forward, were now turned, looking directly at a section of the wall behind the display, a part of the storeroom that was boarded up and had been for decades. Clara knew what she had to do. The next day, she didn't go to the police. Who would believe her? Instead, she came to the store, during the day, pretending to be a history student researching the building. She convinced the aging store manager to let her see the old architectural plans. She found that the boarded up section of the wall on the 3rd floor wasn't on the original blueprints. It was an addition, a hollow space. That night, her final shift, she brought a crowbar. Her hands shook as she pried at the old wooden boards behind Isabelle's display. The wood splintered and groaned, the sound echoing through the silent store. Finally, she managed to pull one of the boards free, revealing a dark, musty space within the wall. A terrible, cloying smell wafted out. Holding her breath, she shone her flashlight inside, and she screamed. Tucked away in the cramped space was a skeleton, slumped in the corner, clad in the tattered remains of a beautiful, shimmering dress, and around its neck was a pearl necklace, the same one worn by Isabelle Delacroix in the old newspaper photograph. The mystery was solved. Someone had harmed her and hidden her body in the walls of the place she loved most. With the discovery, a strange peace seemed to settle over the 3rd floor. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, like a storm had finally broken. Clara called the police anonymously, telling them about a suspicious hollow wall in the old department store. The discovery of Isabelle Delacroix's remains became a major news story, finally bringing closure to a mystery almost a century old. She was given a proper burial, her spirit finally at rest. Clara quit her job at the Grand Arcadia. She couldn't bear to walk those silent halls again. A few weeks later, as she walked past the store, she glanced at the window display on the 3rd floor. The mannequin, Isabelle, was still there. But she looked different. The sad, knowing look in her eyes was gone. Her pose was still, truly still. The painted smile on her face no longer seemed tragic, but peaceful. She was just a mannequin now, a beautiful shell of porcelain and paint, her story finally told. Clara smiled, a genuine, grateful smile, and whispered, "Goodbye, Isabelle." Sometimes the things we think are just objects hold stories we can't even imagine. They wait in the silence for someone to listen. So the next time you feel a pair of unseen eyes on you in a quiet place, don't be so quick to dismiss it. You might just be in the presence of a story waiting to be heard. Thanks for listening to this week's Scary Story. If you enjoyed this tale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new story. Until next time, stay safe and be careful what you stare at in the dark.